Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Let's Play Hollow Knight. Today we are going to branch out from the City of Tears into a subzone within the city. And we got a very slight glimpse of it last time. We're heading into an area called the Soul Sanctum. So far we are going unimpeded until this Spell Twister spawns. Is it Spell Twister or Soul Twister? No, Spell Twister is the name of a charm coming up. Like us, they can use souls to cast spells. And given that this place is the Soul Sanctum, we're going to learn a little bit more about that. Oh man, we got the slightest teaser of that pipe organ coming in, which really sets the tone of the whole Soul Sanctum. Before we do any progressing into that, this shortcut is really, really handy. It's also kind of dickish. There's a slot for some kind of key, a key that we don't yet have. Because it's a hidden shortcut back to the bench, which really comes in handy. Because the Soul Sanctum does not have its own discrete bench to sit at. It's not the largest zone, but it is a pretty difficult one. So for the most part, you are reliant on opening up as many shortcuts as possible. Especially before you reach the boss, because it is one of the tougher bosses in the game, especially relative to when you fight him. Nope. I think the trickiest thing about the Soul Twisters is the fact that they get to teleport around. Not to mention the satellite hovering around them. And their models are quite big. They take up a lot of space in what are normally pretty confined spaces. So this door to the right is locked for the time being, so we're gonna have to go and find a way to open that up. Almost got stuck in a weird way between the wall and the elevator. And they will just kind of come out of nowhere, so you always have to be on your toes. That's a theme in this area, as these other enemies crawling like slugs on the ground also tend to spawn from the floor. We'll just take a second to appreciate this very different, very ominous music after we read Record Abba. The mind still limits us so. How to break past its constraints to attain a pure focus. Is it even possible? Well, the knight attained some sort of focus using souls. Yes, it is possible. Also, I love how gloomy and just upsetting the music is here. It's a much more dour tone than anything we've come up against in the game. For good reason. This is kind of a place of atrocities. These warriors I find to be much harder than the mages. They also take way more of a beating. This one's more of a mini-boss, though. They won't show up so often as proper enemies. Whereas the Soul Twisters, they're here to stay. You can see he also behaves a lot like the Manus Lords. Oops. A little bit less teleporting, but between this and Soul Twisters, you also get a pretty good amount of practice in for something coming up. Good, good, good. Did get some good hits in on us, though. Back to this oppressive pipe organ and everything else going on that just kind of signposts to you, hey, this is not a good place. This is not a place of happy times. Sets a very different mood. I would like to defeat this thing before dropping further down. It gets really hectic if you spawn these 2 or 3 at a time, and you totally can do that if you try to run the level while ignoring them. It's very hard to escape them since they teleport. As for these, the crawlies, these and the other variant that we'll see in a little bit, the ones that float around, they are called follies and mistakes. So, the grounded ones are the mistakes. These, the ones that fly around, all bloated, are follies. And the journal will eventually, after we hunt and kill enough of them, tell us that they used to be highly intelligent, but that they were deformed after they meddled with souls in order to gain immortality. Just gaining immortality was not the primary goal, though. That's sort of when their eyes got bigger than their stomachs. The first goal was to prevent death from a very specific catastrophe. And it's something that ties into the greater story of the game, what that catastrophe is. And I'll say this, it also ties into the orange eyes and the orange color coding that we've seen in so many of the enemies. But we'll learn more about that in time. Just a little bit more time. This is all stuff that we could figure out just through the journal entries that we've been getting updates on. Eventually, by the way, we will take a little bit of time out. Probably after, not this coming boss, but the boss after. And just go through the journal once again and pick through and discuss some of the implications from it. We're going to do that in kind of bursts instead of every time we get an update, because those updates come constantly. Oh, that's nice. Wish I could have gotten a third and a fourth off of that pogo, but it's fine. We see light pouring in from that glass floor. We've seen stuff like that before. We just have to keep it in mind for when we get a new ability. And we've opened up just about every passageway in the Soul Sanctum now. So everything is available to us, including all of the really crucial shortcuts. Ah, man. This is fine. I want to funnel them all in here so I can take every last one out with one Vengeful Spirit. We did miss 2, but that's just an opportunity to get a little bit of soul refunded to us. And we will pick up the Spell Twister Charm, which reduces the amount of soul that we need to cast spells. Good for spellcasting builds. So between the follies and the mistakes, the experimentation with souls, and this music telling us pretty much everything we need to know in terms of conveying a feeling, we learn a lot in a short period here. So look at this boy up here. The Soul Master, Master of the Sanctum. Now this boss, especially relative to when we are fighting him, is one of the harder bosses in the game. This one did take me a few tries back when I streamed this for the first time last year. This is your chance to heal if you really need to. It took a while for him to finally use that dive bomb. And that's one of the things that makes him so fun and so tricky, is that he can fake you out. Yep. Dash Master does make that a fair bit easier to handle. Also, these projectiles home and track them so well. I'm amazed at how well this is going. I'm very happy with this. Maybe I'm setting myself up. Cursing myself. Should be it. Oh, he just needed one more. How is that? For a good fight. I needed that. No hitter quitter. We ain't done yet. That's fun. Now, instead of shockwaves, it's just a big AoE. And he can still fake us out, so he'll do this a couple of times in a row. And then we'll get a chance to actually hit him. But he's spawning the explosive orbs from all over the screen. So you have to watch your opportunities to hit him. Damn it. Ah, this is such a bad spawn. Prefer it when they spawn next to him, actually. And they will track you just as hard as his projectiles from the first part of the fight. Not a scratch. Proud of that. Because that is, again, a much harder fight than I made it look. Again, relatively one of the harder bosses in the game. In absolute terms, oh, there's going to be some that are much, much harder. But he just represents such a difficulty spike if you fight him this early. By the way, we really didn't have to do Soul Sanctum this early on, but having the Desolate Dive and just having the Soul Master out of the way feels really good. The Desolate Dive, by the way, being a brand new and great feeling ability. More mobility for us as well. And this is why we were keeping note of all of these glass partitions in the floor, because we can Desolate Dive straight through those. And that's not the only thing that we can actually dive through. A couple of times throughout the game, I reminded you to pay attention to when the floor would shake a little bit like this as we walked over it. It's just a real slight rumble, and that's because those are hidden sections of the floor that we can, once again, dive through. Also, take a look at the background of this room. Just how many corpses of little bugs there are. It's safe to say this soul experimentation required a lot of research subjects. This is a much, much darker portion of the game. It couldn't be all lighthearted forever. Just open this back up. And while we were Desolate Diving down, we passed by this little Caperpipper. Caperpipper buddy. Yeah. Now, let's see if I can just barely make that. Good. We don't have to fall down and do that loop again. Also, note how many jars and other vessels with soul in them there are in this area. They had lots of excess containers lying around. Music really makes me think of Castlevania. And we may as well heal up here since we're going to get a soul refill. And part of the reason they give you so much soul here is because after you beat the boss, there are so many locations within the Soul Sanctum alone that you can go and Desolate Dive through, but it does take souls up because it is one of your spells. And now we recognize this area. Up above is where we fought the melee mini-boss. And so we're just heading back to the bench now. Like I said, the Soul Sanctum is not a huge area. It is a subzone of the City of Tears. Gives you a really useful ability, though. Plus the Soul Twister, which may actually get some use out of that. Cornifer leaves his card behind because the boss of the area is downed. And we don't actually need his map since we already got it. That, I think, is going to do it for now. We even have the map updated with the whole Soul Sanctum now. So we are going to head back to Dirtmouth, and I will see you all there. Thank you all for watching. Take it easy. Have a good one, everyone.